No, she's not. She's downstairs with mom. Hey guys, let me know if the music's too loud. If you need me to turn it down, I'll do that. Sorry I'm late. Shannon. Good to see you, Shannon. Not good to hear about the stuff going on. Kat showed me that you had sent us a follow-up text about what's going on. I think she replied, but I have not yet. So as soon as we're off, I'm gonna try to sit down and look at that. Look at him, Eljo. Eljo. All right, if anybody wants to talk on this alien deal, you're gonna need to go into the Discord. You're gonna need to come down to this red area right here where Ghostgate already is, and just make sure you're muted. And then sit in there and just hang out. And then once we can get you on, we'll get you on probably closer to the end, unless you have something that's like prevalent to whatever we're talking about in the moment. And then just let me know in the YouTube chat and I'll get you in. Let me throw an invite link out here real quick. Okay, there's that. Man, you guys are already going off. Okay. Mikel, speaking the Spanish, man. Speaking the Spanish. I have popcorn ready. Oh, God. Oh, good, Shannon. I'm glad you ignored her, too. You know we're very bad at communicating, so I'm glad you understand. Maggie, where did you come from? Where are you from, Maggie? I do not recognize you. Man, this alien stuff is not my thing, out of my league. Yeah, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. All right, anybody who is new here, Maggie, I believe you're the only one that I've spotted, at least. Or if you're watching this later, there is a link to the Discord pinned in the live chat. So if you're watching this recording later, you're not going to see it unless you swipe over to the right from the comment section, and then you will see the live chat, and then you can click that link and get in. All right, let's see. So first thing real quick, before I forget, I need another moderator for the Discord. So I've got one already. To be a moderator now, because it's relatively active, you have to be active. So like to some degree, you've got to be on every day. Preferably one of the people who is pretty much in there all throughout the day would be ideal, because you are seeing what's going on and you know, you got your finger on the pulse. So if you would like to be a moderator, let me know. Or if you would like to nominate somebody to be a moderator. It's not guaranteed because they have free will and they get to choose. But we can nominate somebody, and if they're down to do it, then we'll bring them in. Ghost, is that hand you volunteering? Maggie is the sister, the Ghostgate sister. Got it. Got it. All right, beautiful. Ghostgate done. Done. Hopes and dreams answered. All right, well, now that that's out of the way, I was going to run a poll. We were going to do a whole thing to try to pick the moderator. Now we don't need to. Funny how that worked out. All right, so somebody brought up Carl Sagan a couple weeks ago. I don't remember who, and I don't even remember in what context, but I have a Carl Sagan quote for you. Space exploration leads directly to religious and philosophical questions. Space exploration leads directly to religious and philosophical questions. The question this evening, however, is, do aliens really exist? Within that question, what does the Bible say about aliens? Should be interesting. Should be interesting. If anybody has anything to add to the alien thing within a biblical context, just get it ready. And then, you know, we'll throw out things into the chat. And then, like I said, if anybody wants to come on and talk, you can join the voice chat and then you'll be good to go. But I'm going to ramble here for a little bit. I'm going to lay a little bit of foundation and then we can kind of go from there. So in the US, and this was as of, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, We spend roughly $22.6 billion a year on NASA. And since its inception, it being NASA, our country has put more than $650 billion into understanding and exploring the universe beyond Earth. As people, as humans, we show immense fascination with anything that is beyond our imagination, which makes sense when you think about religion. Humans have this innate, weird desire to understand things that we cannot understand. My theory behind this is that it's because we are spiritual beings, right? If we were not spiritual to some degree, we wouldn't really care about the mysterious, the things outside of the physical world, things like space, things like other realms or spiritual nature. We wouldn't care. We care because we are it. We have this deep-rooted spirituality within us as humans. Therefore, we're wildly fascinated with anything that is beyond our understanding or our imagination, right? I feel like it's really well accepted across most people. So it's no surprise that we would wonder how all of the scientific discoveries in space, how they impact the way we read or engage with Scripture, with the Bible. If you really think about it, they kind of go hand in hand on a lot of different fronts, but they kind of go hand in hand. So are aliens in the Bible? We're going to start with getting on the same page about terminology, because otherwise this becomes more of an argument than a conversation, and really it's for no reason at all. So what are we talking about when we talk about aliens? A true definition of alien is anything that belongs to a foreign territory. So someone who is not a citizen of this country, being the US for most of us, somebody who's not a citizen in the country they reside in would be considered an alien, right? We had that in the US at least, but I assume everywhere. We had a time where calling immigrants aliens was okay, because by definition, there's nothing offensive about that. It's just what the word means. But then at some point, because everything got very politically correct to a very annoying degree, alien became offensive. Why? Because people are weird about words. But that was a normal thing for a long time. In the plant and animal world, alien species to a region are often called invasive species. Same concept as people, right? Crossing territories, same concept. If we're talking about aliens to Earth, an alien could refer to any being that is not from Earth. Spiritual beings like angels and demons that interact with our world could be included in that group. Scripture clearly indicates that these beings at least exist. Just to what degree do they have something to do with the concept of aliens, right? That's kind of the question, right? As Shannon, her eyes are kind of out there. You feeling well? Are my eyes out there? I feel like the lighting is weird, so it's making my eyes look like super baggy. I'm doing pretty all right. I felt awful Sunday, Monday, and part of Tuesday, like just terrible, but not sick. I just felt like something was horribly wrong. That's why we had to cancel Bible study. I'm good today. I feel pretty all right. I'm tired. I had a decent day. So if I look messed up, just know I think most of it's lighting, and maybe just because I had kind of a rough week. A lot of working, man. A lot of working. All right. So if you want to call angels and demons aliens because they are foreign to Earth, then sure, they're aliens, right? They're aliens. By definition, they are aliens. But does the Bible teach anything about life on other planets? So within the context, we're obviously talking about extraterrestrials. That's why we're here. So we're not going to get hung up on this weird, this semantic argument of what are aliens, what are not aliens. If you want to call angels and demons aliens, you definitely could, because they're foreign to Earth. It just is what it is. Moving past that, though. But does the Bible teach anything about life on other planets? Or, with our working definition of aliens, it's not going to include angels and demons. We're just going to kind of push that out relatively quick as to not get confused, because they are spiritual beings. They are not organisms. Could you argue and say you don't need to be an organism to be an invasive species or to be some kind of alien? Sure. Let's not do that. We're going to talk about organisms. Organisms, angels and demons are not organisms, at least that most of us know of or believe. So we're going to ignore them within this context. Our working definition of alien for tonight is going to be any extraterrestrial life form that is foreign to Earth. Any extraterrestrial life form that is foreign to Earth. Starting there, the Bible doesn't really say anything about that, right? The Bible leaves you pretty much in the dark. About the potential for organisms to exist somewhere else in the universe besides planet Earth, the Bible doesn't definitively say anything at all about it. Jalen, butt heads with my faith. What did I miss? Personally, there's things that I've seen that butt heads with my face, and that's why it's a topic for me. Danny, you got to explain that more. What do you mean? There are things that you've seen that butt heads with your faith, and that's why it's a topic for me. Explain more. I'm curious. You mean like things you've seen like that have to do with extraterrestrial type stuff, and you feel like it conflicts with like your Christian faith? I'd be interested to hear more about that. What we can be confident of is that we have these standard Christian values. We know that God created the heavens and the earth per the Bible. We know he created the entire universe, mostly an insinuation from things in the Bible, not directly stated in the Bible in the original languages. On planet Earth, Jesus Christ did what? He came, he saved, and then he left again. Technically, I guess. Technically. That is the Christian viewpoint. That is the perspective, that is the scope, that is the lens. Those are the glasses that we have on while we're looking at the context or concept of aliens. Ghostgate says Genesis 18:1-8 shows angels being physical like man, and we are going to get into that, so hang tight. Are aliens demons? Given that the definition of alien refers to any foreign being, there is room for the term to be used to describe a demon. But in scripture, demon or demonic beings are almost always referred to as spiritual beings. Always? No, but almost always as a spiritual being. They're specified that way. They are part of the spiritual realm, not another planet that we know of. That is my interjection there. From everything I could find from Christian sources, they had these kind of fundamental beliefs about the angels and demons in terms of being extraterrestrial, and that they're definitively separate. I disagree. I disagree because I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend like I know. That we know of, angels and demons are part of a spiritual realm, not another planet, but only that we know of. But who's to say that other planets aren't used for spiritual purposes? Who's to say other planets aren't spiritual in nature? Until we can, as humans, physically go to a place, we can't truly assess whether it's actually a physical place as we imagine it, or if it's a spiritual place and we have just an off perception of it from our physical reality here. I hope you're still with me. Who's to say other universes are not spiritual in nature? There isn't a single human who can make that claim confidently. That is my point. It's purely speculative. If we decide that other universes scientists, find through telescopes and things, if we decide they are not spiritual, that is an assumption. It's based on nothing. It's based on we have a human understanding of a physical world. Therefore, we project our human understanding of a physical world onto anything else that we see or experience. This being space, or being other universes, or being other planets. We have no actual reason to think that they aren't spiritual places that we have the ability to visually see, because we haven't been there. You could argue people have been to the moon. We're not going to start that argument because I know a lot of people don't believe we've been to the moon. The spiritual realm does not interact with the world throughout the scriptures. False. It does. It does. So this is one interesting thing that I found on a lot of Christian resources as trying to look at this. There was a claim made several times from several different sources that said the spiritual realm does not directly interact with the world throughout the scriptures. I don't get that at all, because the scriptures that I read, there's massive interaction between the spiritual and the physical world. So much so that it's caused a lot of people to lose their faith, because as we've talked about many times, throughout Christian history, the spiritual interaction with the physical world has waned. It's become less and less. So in the scriptures, it was paramount. It was prominent. There was an immense amount of spiritual interaction from the spiritual realm to the physical world. It was constant. It was everywhere. And it was physical. It was tangible. It was literal. Nowadays, people will complain or whine about religion because we seemingly have no direct interaction from the spiritual realm to the physical world. I completely disagree. And I think most people here probably would, because a lot of us have experienced something spiritual to some degree or another. Whether it was negative or whether it was positive is kind of beside the point. But I've personally experienced spiritual things within the physical world. I know a lot of you have too, just from our talks on demonology and things like that. Couple of verses here. You got Ephesians 6:12. It talks about an enemy that is not of flesh and blood. This is Teal's favorite. Not of flesh and blood, but that includes rulers, authorities, powers, and forces of evil in the heavenly realm, being the spiritual realm. That's a highly spiritual verse. 2 Corinthians 10:4-5 talks about fighting a spiritual enemy with weapons not of this world. Not of this world. And then those of us who have been following along in Enoch know that there's a whole other window of this concept of weapons of the other world. We are introduced to demonic entities, introducing humans of the physical world to different kinds of armor and weaponry, right? Interesting. Taken out of the canon. We know about it because we read it. However, in the canon, you've got that reference to weapons not of this world. In Matthew chapter 4, the tempter meets Jesus in the wilderness. If you read Matthew chapter 4, you will feel the spirituality in there. It's highly spiritual. So whether they are considered aliens or not, demons are spiritual beings that sided with Satan as an enemy of God and lost their place in heaven, quote unquote. That is your standard Christian belief, right? That is what you would hear in the church. Demons are spiritual beings that sided with Satan as an enemy of God, fell with him or after him, and have lost their place in heaven. Scriptures say also that they were, quote, hurled to the earth, end quote. It comes out of Revelation 12:7-9. So where they engage with humanity in an attempt to keep people from salvation. That is the purpose within that context, is that they were engaging with humanity in an attempt to keep people from salvation. That's spiritual interference with the physical world. In most biblical references to demons, people are possessed or filled with a demonic spirit. So going back to Ghostgate pointing out that angels many times specifically in the Old Testament had a physical form, which you can read about actually a lot of different places in the Old Testament. You see that, but then you see that paired with other things that are kind of they're described much less physically. There's a lot less physicality to it. Where demons are possessed, people are possessed by demons or filled with a demon, giving you this idea that demons are a spiritual thing, not so much an organism or a physical thing. So if we're going to say that demons are aliens, it has a slight contradiction, but again, it's mostly semantic. That's why, honestly, this topic is difficult, mostly because of semantics. And then once you get deep into it, it's still very difficult. So could someone have had a demonic experience that they, man, how do I want to say this? Could somebody have a demonic experience and then determined it was actually an alien? So what I mean is we've heard stories forever, basically, of like alien interaction. So like alien abductions, whether it's a UFO, probing, like there's all these age-old stories about aliens interacting with people. One of the Christian perspective questions is, what if these are experiences with demons that humans who just aren't religiously inclined or not religiously educated assume are aliens? They're something foreign, but are actually demonic experiences. They're being interacted with by demons. It's an interesting concept. All right, let me jump in here real quick and make sure I don't miss anything important. What people call gray aliens and UFO crap. I believe what my eyes saw, so I need to figure that into a biblical narrative. What did you see? I mean, more specifically, what people call gray aliens and UFO crap. Are you saying you saw gray aliens and UFO crap? and that you know what your eyes saw, and now you need to figure out how to make that fit into the biblical narrative, that would be interesting. I would like to hear about that. Ghostgate, you are not old. I doubt that. Did you tell everybody how old you are? I don't see it. I doubt you're old. You seem like a young soul, my friend. They are radioactively relevant to nature on Earth. Explain, Gordon. They are radioactively relevant to nature on Earth. More of an explanation, man. More of an explanation. I will soon leave you, Ghostgate, all by yourself. I'll soon leave the 40-ish stratosphere. You're not 40, Mikkel. Are you 40? What about like alien abduction? Could aliens be giants like Nephilim? I can't spell. You did your best, Maze. Like past aliens versus present aliens? I've heard near-death experiences and abductions like lab style. So creepy. Yeah, but that's the question, right? So aliens from a secular perspective kind of means one thing, and you take one angle with it because they already don't believe in anything outside of our understanding. Most atheists, not all, but most, they believe in what they can see. They believe in what they can test and prove after hypothesis. Like that's the way that they function in life. People who are religious function the opposite way. They function off of things that they cannot prove. They function off of things that may not have facts necessarily behind them. They function off of spirituality, which is a non-tangible concept. So we approach a topic like this very different than the secular world. So what you're going to see in the secular world is one thing. When you actually take it to a Christian perspective, which I doubt happens a lot. I'm sure Christians talk about this stuff, but not a lot. You have to look at it from a very different angle. And I think that's one of the things that's the hardest about it, especially now with aliens being in the news a lot. It's a very popular topic right now. As of 2023, you're getting a secular perspective jammed down your throat. So if you're watching a lot of alien stuff from like the History Channel and from CNBC and things like this, you're getting a very secular view of it. And you need to be super careful that doesn't skew the way that you think about it. If you are a Christian, you should not be accepting anything from the mainstream media or from like the History Channel. They don't share the same perspective as you. They don't share the same understanding of reality as you. You versus mainstream media, each of you is delusional to the other person. So why would we adopt or adapt to what they are teaching us? It doesn't make any damn sense whatsoever. Are angels aliens? And I've got a bunch more verses here. As with demons, angels are foreign beings to Earth. So there is room, again, for the term alien to be used to describe them. And there are many more biblical references of angels appearing like humans, there you go, ghost, and interacting with humans on Earth. But they do not seem to stay on Earth for long periods of time, which is true. If you go back through the scriptures, they seem to be relatively short little stints where these angels come to Earth, they interact, and then they depart. Angels certainly could also be mistaken for extraterrestrial beings or aliens, and could even be mistaken for human beings, as the writer of Hebrews states, quote, "Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it." It's Hebrews 13:12. It's one of many references of angels having this human type, either appearance or kind of feel to them. Angels often interact with humans throughout the Old Testament and New Testament. Here are a few examples. Genesis 18, Abraham encounters 3 strangers that he does not realize are angels. Numbers 22, Balaam and his donkey encounter an angel in the road. Joshua 5, Joshua encounters the commander of the army of the Lord. 2 Kings 6, Elisha and the army of angels. In Matthew and Luke's gospel accounts, you have Zechariah, Mary, Joseph. They all encountered angels. Luke 2, a host of angels engage with a group of shepherds. So you have some Old Testament, you have some New Testament. These are direct engagements of the spiritual with the physical. All angels are ministering servants sent to serve those who will inherit salvation, aka Christians. According to Hebrews 1:4, they are distinctly separate and in service and submission to Jesus. They ensue that God's will ultimately be accomplished. That is their purpose per scripture. That's their purpose per scripture, is to basically make God's plans happen by either interacting with or engaging with the physical world. Again, throughout scripture. In the Bible, angels have many purposes when they engage with humans. Here are some more examples. You've got Psalm 91:11. They will guard God's people in all ways. Psalm 34:7. They encamp around those who fear God and deliver them. Luke 15:10. They rejoice when sinners repent. Exodus 23:20. They prepared the way for Israel to enter the promised land. And Matthew 4:11. After Satan was done tempting Jesus, he was attended to by angels. Could someone have an angelic experience and determine that it was an alien? Again, conceptually, yes. Right? So people who say that they have had some kind of alien experience that was positive, who is not religiously inclined, could it be a misunderstanding of what the entity actually was and these things actually be angels? Sure. From a secular perspective, again, aliens are about the most magical thing that secular people believe in, if they believe in anything at all. Again, to religious people, it's just another drop in the bucket. Like we believe all sorts of wild stuff, is realistically. So aliens is not really that much of a stretch. Aliens and Christianity. What would the existence of aliens mean for Christianity? If someone proved the existence of aliens and alien life in our universe, would it negate anything in Scripture? This is an actual question. If we proved aliens exist, they are real. They have interacted and engaged with the world, with our physical world, Earth, but they're out there for sure. Does it negate any of the truth of Scripture as a Christian? This is salvific law. Does it affect that at all? Does it affect sinners coming to salvation? Does it affect anything that is important within the Christian faith? Jalen says no. What does everybody else think? If we prove aliens are real, does it affect your faith? Does it negate any of the importance of the Christian faith? Any of Scripture? Do we have to, kind of like Danny said, if we prove aliens exist, do we have to then figure out a way for the biblical narrative to stay coherent? There is no conflict from anything I have been able to think of or find. If aliens exist, there's no conflict. Now, depending on specific theological views and specific opinions on certain things, there might be. But in a general Christian sense, Jalen is right, and the answer is no. There is no essential doctrine, there is no essential piece or part of Scripture that is threatened by the existence of aliens not being demons and angels. So being something totally foreign, even from a religious perspective. If anybody can think of anything, I'd be interested to hear it. I cannot think of or find anything. It doesn't interact with, it does not threaten any of the fundamental points of Christianity, in my opinion. Scripture claims that God created the heavens and the earth. All people are created in the image of God. Jesus is the only way to salvation. The Bible is God-breathed and used for us in following Jesus. All that is still true if science finds extraterrestrial life exists, right? Those are the key fundamental points of Christianity. God is the creator of heaven and earth. All people are created in God's image. Jesus is the only way to salvation. And the Bible is God-breathed and used for us in following Christ. That all still remains true. None of that is threatened or hurt or altered by the existence of aliens. Many theological, more towards the philosophical concepts do become threatened. But essential Christian doctrine or ideas do not become threatened by the existence of aliens. We were created with the ability to wonder in many ways. This is a beautiful gift that people have. This is a beautiful part of humanity. It causes us to want to explore and ponder the depths of God and creation. When you look at the sky at night, when you're outside in the things Cat loves so much, the lightning bugs are going around doing their thing. Like these are beautiful things within the physical world that we live in. Stars, dude, if you actually can look at stars, like nobody thinks or cares about stars anymore. Go actually look at stars. It's wild. It's wild. And these are God's fingerprints in the world. These are things that are, in my opinion, not just accidents of nature. To me, that is statistically impossible or highly freaking improbable. These are beautiful things. There are so many things within nature, within our physical world, our physical life, that is absolutely beautiful. And they're tied to our spiritual nature as people who are tied to God within the spiritual nature. Exploring the universe opens us up to a completely different picture of how wild God is, of how great God is as an entity, right? Whether you believe one way or the other, don't care. If you believe something, some supreme being of some kind created everything that we see here, everything that we experience, you have to admit that's wild. That's powerful. It's beautiful. And there's love woven into everything that is around us. Humans have made it not so much like that anymore. But originally, nature and people before they started being assholes, beautiful things. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things. I think we'll skip some of this. We'll skip some of this. Yeah, screw that. Okay, so the Bible and aliens, a few additional verses, and then we'll open things up. Hebrews 11:3. By faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible. I'm going to read that again, because I harp on stuff like this a lot. By faith, we understand that the universe was created by the word of God. Literally, in my opinion, no. In concept, absolutely. So that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible, meaning not made out of things that are conceivable. You cannot conceive it. You cannot conceive it. Psalm 19:1. A Psalm of David, the heaven declares the glory of God and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. So just a representation of nature, right? The things I was just talking about. Psalm 8:3-4, when I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is man that you are mindful of him? And the son of man that you care for him. John 1:3, last one, all things were made through him, and without him was not anything made that was made. Gotta love the repetitive nature of the Bible. So, first question. Do we have any substantial reason to dismiss the concept of aliens from our list of possible realities within our existence? Is there anything substantial that would make us as Christians discount the idea of aliens being real? Anything. Anything. I don't think so. But as always, I'd be very interested to hear if you think there's something is. Anything substantial that would cause us to dismiss the idea of aliens being real from a Christian perspective. Does anybody have one? While you guys figure that out, I'm going to look ahead here, or look back. If aliens and angels are the same phenomena, then drawing distinctions seems pointless. They're these spiritual beings that are something that is difficult for us to understand. But I think one thing we can understand is that they have different nature, right? Demons have a very different nature than angels. Anybody who's experienced an angel and a demon, I think they'd say there's a very vast difference between the two, right? Unless maybe I misunderstood you. Are we saying that secular anything is bad? I have no idea where you got that from. I don't think I said anything bad about secular people at all. If I did, somebody please let me know. We have different perspectives. If you choose to see that as good or bad, that's on you. I didn't apply a negative or a positive to either perspective. We are all savable as well if they're cognizant as much as we are. Well, are they savable as well? Danny, what do you mean? Are they savable? What do you mean? I'm curious. Can they just exist? Can they just exist just as we picture animals in nature? What, aliens? That's the question, right? That's the question. That's the $1 million question. Guys, let me know if the video goes out. I think we're having internet issues here. Maybe not. They may be like angels who has the vast knowledge about God and the universe. Therefore, if the sun, they know much better the consequences than us humans. I'm having a hard time reading, and I can't tell if it's just me or if we're having a bad grammar night. I'm going to assume it's me. So I'm going to try to read slower. If they're coming from their own advanced civilization and don't know Jesus, I'd say it's kind of a spee, kind of a hurdle at least. Yeah, so that's a good question. That's a good question. So let's say aliens exist. Let's say from a Christian perspective, we believe any living being is you're under salvation through Christ alone, right? Should we assume that aliens somehow know about Jesus? Should we assume that aliens are under the same laws as people? The spiritual laws, right? Where we're under this original sin. Well, aliens aren't a part of our species. They're not human. So would aliens fall under original sin? That's a good question. That's a really good question. Sarah likes looking at the stars. Some messages aren't showing up in the YouTube chat. Anyone else notice that? Yeah, we're having okay, well, we had a buffering issue, but now it says the connection is excellent. So we'll see. We'll see. It's hard to know. I see them pop up in the video, but not in the actual chat. I totally wear that t-shirt. But some may actually be demons, if not all. I wrote one possibly above. I mean, did Jesus come to save them too? Yeah, so that's the question. That's the question. That's a very good question. It's honestly one that I didn't really think about. If aliens are a separate species, if they are not human, if they are from a totally separate place, are they still under, quote unquote, God the Father? If so, would they not inherently be under Christ also? And if not, then who are they under? Or are they? Or are they an independent species kind of just doing their own thing? That's a really good question. Like, that's the $1 million question. Because that is one of these things that would dramatically alter theology, our concept or understanding of theology. Can you guys still see and hear? Everything looks fine, but I feel like I lost most of the chat. Uh-oh. That's good. That's good. Is the stream still going? That's a paradox. Alien salvation. Yeah, in a way, right? In a way. Okay, it's working. All right, Ghost, did you want to... Beautiful, thank you. Ghost, did you want to come on? Did you have something to add? I see you in the voice over there. All right, let me know if something happens with the video again. We hit a bad connection, but I think we're good now. All right, anybody else who wants to come on to talk, because you don't want to type because it's very annoying, let me know in the YouTube chat, or just go join the voice channel and then mute yourself. I'm pretty sure all of you know how to do it, but just in case, it's going to be the red section on the left sidebar there. Just join the event voice and then make sure you're muted until it's your time. No problem on my end. Thank you, Danny. Danny, you proposed the greatest question. You didn't ask it exactly the way that I am, but I did not even think about that. That was a really good thought that you had, man. That's a game changer. That is the theological shift that would dramatically affect things, right? Where does God start and end? Where does his reign over living things start and end? The Bible doesn't mention anything outside of Earth. The Bible mentions humans, animals, and plants, things within our physical reality. So does God have a separate life cycle, a separate Bible, a separate salvation arc in other universes? So is there another universe where God stays the same? However, there's a different version of Jesus. There was a different fall of man. There were different types of giants. Does the story change? Does the story change? Or is the story exactly the same? That is the $1 million question. And it's an impossible question, but it's a very interesting question. Ghost, whenever you're ready, you can just unmute, man. No rush, but whenever you're ready. The seven heavens, the moon and the stars, they are all outside of Earth. Yes, but let's go outside of the universe, okay? Because yeah, outside of our Earth, like we have the ability to see other planets, assuming you believe NASA. We won't get into that. But the common assumption within our world is that we have the ability to see other planets. We can see the stars. These things are all under God. God mentioned these things in the origin story. So let's get outside of that. Go far, far away. The stars that we see, can't see them anymore. The planets we see, can't see them anymore. You are so far out into the galaxies and the universe. Jalen just said it. I believe you enter a different realm. I don't believe the universe just keeps going out and it's all the same. It's all just our universe that it's stars, it's planets, it's black holes, it's all. I don't believe that because it seems too simple. That's really the only reason. I believe once you get far enough away from our reality, everything we have seen, experienced, I think you get to a place where everything is different. I think entities are different, but obviously things like breathing don't exist. Water might not exist because the entity's there. Why would they need water? That's a human assumption. Why would they need air, food? Why? Why would all living things so far away have to function like humans do? They don't at all. It's an infinite thing. There are infinite options of how that can work. I think that's part of why aliens as a concept is so scary for a lot of people, because they're not under our rules. We don't understand them. So how would you fight? How would you fight them? How would you defend yourself against them? What are their intentions with humans? How powerful are they? What are their abilities? I mean, people talk about the UFOs having this crazy propulsion systems and stuff. That's scary. Why? Because we're vulnerable. I find it a little troubling that we may never be allowed to leave this place. My understanding is that the New Jerusalem will descend from heaven to earth. And it's a valid fear. I think anybody who really sits and thinks about that we're trapped on a globe, it's a little bit scary. It's a little bit disconcerting at the very least, right? What about parallel universes? I completely believe in parallel universes in a spiritual way. In a spiritual way, I totally do. I think that's basically where they come from. And I think that's another way to envision what galaxies or what universes are. Because again, why is there any reason to think a galaxy we can't see right now behaves or has the physicality of our galaxy? Why would you believe that? We have just as much to believe that as we do to not believe that. So it leaves it very open. There seems to be a lot pointing to this idea of different realms or different different realms or different parallel universes. Why could the other galaxies not be a parallel universe? Or not parallel, just other universes where there are other beings living different ways. And who's to say they can't engage with us? Just because we can't engage with them, that doesn't really make sense. Like, that's a bold assumption. Just because humans, or most at least, can't directly engage with a different universe or a parallel universe or a different galaxy, that doesn't necessarily mean they can't engage with us, that they can't get here somehow. There's no actual reason to believe that. It's just an assumption. It's just something we think just because. These are the types of ways of thinking that everybody needs to stop doing. Everybody makes everything so closed-ended. It's not closed-ended. It's 100% open. We've just been conditioned to get comfortable. And we're uncomfortable with things like this, trying to understand things like this, because it's an uncomfortable thing. All right, does the concept I've seen Satan through the Griffith Park Observatory before. Oh, Saturn. I've seen Saturn through the Griffith Park Observatory before. Looked like what they say. Sure. I mean, we've all seen stuff from NASA, right? I mean, who's to say they couldn't alter a telescope to make it show you what they want you to see? I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm playing devil's advocate here. But who's to say when you look through a telescope, you're not seeing a simulation? If we're going to go to Crazyville, you got to go all the way to Crazyville. Who's to say when you look through anything? Who's to say somebody does not have the ability or the power, whether it's on our earth or a different one, whether it's a human being or a spiritual being, doesn't have the ability to alter our perception. So alter what we see and how we interact with what we see. Who's to say that? I don't have any reason to believe that. I don't believe that. I think there are things out here that are more powerful than us. I think they do have the ability to change your perspective. I think they have the ability to change the way that you engage and interact with the world. I think they do. I think more so with weak people than strong people. And I don't mean that offensively. I mean it literally. There are weak people on this planet. I'm not going to pretend to be PC. Everybody's strong. Everybody's strong. No, they're not. There's a lot of weak people. There's a lot of people with no spine or soul, with no thinking whatsoever. Tons of them. Tons of them. I think we've seen that throughout history. We've seen weak people get manipulated and do negative things. Maybe we are the aliens to them. Well, by definition, we would be, right? We kill each other and it's chaos. I'd imagine an intelligent being would be like, nah, I'm good, fam. Let's just observe from a distance. Well, there's a theory like that, Maze. There's this theory that like Ghost, when you talk, you gotta let me know. I'm gonna take the headphones off because they annoy me. There's this theory, I'm ready. I was just Maze, that can you hear me? That we see aliens during times of war, because basically the aliens come down here and are kind of like being helicopter parents, because they're like, oh shit, these guys are gonna kill each other. So they'll kind of hang around, float around, and just make sure we don't nuke each other. And then there's a lot of theories why, like that they're harvesting metals and things from the earth, and so they can't have the earth blow up, or they're harvesting things from people. They need I don't want to say it, but need stuff from people to be able to use for something back in their world or universe or realm.
Hello, hello.
Ready? On, off, on, off, on, off. All right, hold on. Ah, shoot. All right, Ghost, you are unmuted. Let me make sure.
Oh, okay.
There you go. All right, you're all set.
Sweet. It's nice to finally talk to you.
Yeah.
I took a bunch of notes. Let me see. You touched on this one already. I said if aliens and angels and demons are the same phenomena, then drawing distinctions seems pointless. I guess what I mean by that is if all of these stories we have in mythology and the Bible, etc., about these beings are actually just misunderstandings of physical entities that have technology that might be able to beam thoughts into our heads. That's what I mean by drawing the distinction. I mean, I understand that people understand them differently, but if it is the same thing, then I think it would be a good thing that we all just start to see it as one thing instead of two separate things, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't disagree with that. Yeah. Even if just for kind of, I guess in every reason, actually. Yeah. No, I think that would make sense. I guess so. Do you think they are the same thing, or do you think there is a distinction?
I do think they're the same thing.
Okay.
In the same way that several weeks ago I brought up the cargo cults. You know, they would describe what they saw in a very different way than how we would describe, you know, biplanes or whatever they were flying over and dropping food.
Yeah.
But we're describing the same event in two different ways. And I feel like that's probably what's happening with the whole alien phenomena. But I mean, who's to say?
Yeah, I mean, that's the tough part. So I guess let's think of like the classic alien interactions, right? With probing. It's the most famous, most common. It's in all the movies. So do you think something like, and not just that, but things like that, things like probing, are these just total BS? Or is there something weird that there's, you know, we'll call them spiritual being, whatever you want to call them, but angels and demons are doing with people?
Well, I mean, okay. So first of all, I think that we're all spiritual beings. We're a spirit that's inhabiting a form. We're inhabiting, like these are our avatars. That's the way I look at it anyways. So every being is spiritual. The only thing that makes us different than them is they seem to be able to pop in and out of their avatar, and we are kind of stuck in ours for a time.
Yes.
But ontologically, I think we're very similar. But I don't know. Let me see what else I put down here.
Yeah, go.
I said, okay, so like things like Star Trek and popular culture really color our perceptions of aliens. So we grow up seeing these, you know, vastly different beings who are all strangely humanoid. But I think that I look at the biblical lens of aliens in the sense that I think they are like gardeners. And there are all kinds of planets all over the universe that have like a similar story to us, where there's a process of growing us into what they are. We're like infants in a sense, I guess. And they're like the butterflies, we're like the caterpillars. And we're just in that process right now. And then when we become butterflies, we get to go do what they're doing to us now to a different planet. And it's just like this perpetual growth paradigm, I suppose. But like, is there anything in scripture that would suggest that? I mean, there's like, I guess they can allude to things and it's like kind of hinting at that. But when Jesus says he's going to give us the morning star, and it just seems, and when they say like, we're going to judge angels, it just seems like it's part of some kind of growth program, gardening program. I don't know.
So yeah, it's an interesting theory. So what's the end game, or is there one?
Oh, and I didn't touch on what you said, the probing thing. I think the probing thing is all part of the hybridization program. Because I think that is somehow part of it. There's too many cases of women saying, you know, they gave me a baby, I had the baby, it looked kind of like me, but it kind of looked like them, and just weird stuff. So I suppose that's what all the experiments are. We do the same thing to animals, like animal husbandry, zoology, weird things like that. So I use the as above, so below principle a lot because I think it applies to practically everything. So like if we do it, then why wouldn't they do it? Some people would say that's flawed logic, maybe, but I think it works.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So going back to the second thing, going back to the growth theory. What's the end goal?
Yeah.
What's the purpose? Why?
Well,
like, what do you think?
I guess that boils down to several places in scripture where it says God makes us for his pleasure. He makes us to interact with and to bring experiences into the world. In order to bring experiences into the world, you have to have avatars to experience things through, I guess, because that's the way he made it. We're not just like energy. But then again, if you think about it, what are atoms? They're just energy, and we're an amalgamation of atoms.
Yep.
So like, what is physical and what is energy? It seems to be like the same thing, just on different scales, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe drawing the distinction between spiritual and physical can be a little hairy as well.
Yeah.
But it would seem, I don't know. Let me see what I got, because that's a tangent.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so I wrote down like prisoners and prison guards have the same bodies ontologically, but different statuses.
Yeah.
So like a guard gets to go home every night and leave the prison, but the prisoners don't.
It's a good
But they're
example.
similar.
Yeah. No, that's a good example.
And I think that we are in like a rehabilitation program. So like we have limited function compared to them, and we will be getting the function that they have at the end of time, apparently, according to Jesus. So
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's what makes me think it's cyclical. And I think that, we're thinking that they're coming from way out there. And, they might be. But I think the ones that we see were assigned to this planet. I don't think there are a bunch of them coming from other places. I think there are some who live in other places and other galaxies, etc. But I don't think we see them.
Yeah.
But I think they're the same as our guys, our zookeepers, or whatever you want to call them, watchers. But that's just my theory. Like a lot of this stuff is wild speculation.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So, man. So for you, do the zookeepers, do they come from a different realm, or do they come from space, or is there a difference?
Well, this gets into like crazy town stuff, but
Yeah.
I think the universe is God's brain. So
Okay.
I think all of these things, all of these constructs are God's imagination. And he kind of, it's a scaffolding that everything sort of exists on. And there are like, 4 different quadrants of the spherical universe. And different area, like our brain has all kinds of different areas that are supposedly for different things, processing different information. And
Yeah.
I suppose the universe is like that. So there might be certain like you mentioned organisms earlier. And organisms is one of those words where it's like, if you really look at the definition of it, it doesn't have to be something that's physical. Like you can have an organic ideology where there's different parts of it that fit together.
Yeah.
I know what you meant when you said it, but
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I do think they come from another realm, but like I said, they need an avatar to interact with us in our waking world. I think they can implant thoughts. I think they can interact in dreams. And I think it's all technological to an extent, because there's no such thing as magic. It's the same. Magic and technology is the same thing, in my opinion. So however they're doing it, I don't know. But they're doing it somehow. I mean, because everyone has this. Well, a lot of people have the same story. So
yeah. So do you think angels and demons, aliens, whatever you want to call them, you think there is a kind of a distinct, definitive separation between, God, how do I want to say it? You had said basically that they could interact with us only using their avatar or through something like thoughts and dreams. So take the stereotypical view of like a ghost, right? This translucent floating type thing. So that concept for you is 100% off the table. It's either a physical avatar or it's through the mind, essentially.
No, I don't think it's off the table. You're familiar with augmented reality, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You put on your goggles and then you can see something in the room that other people can't who aren't wearing goggles. I think we all have a mechanism that can be hacked so that we can see something in the room with us that other people can't. I don't know exactly how it works, but it would seem to me that our eyes function. I don't know how I would explain this, because I'm still trying to work through this as well. I think it's similar to augmented reality, but our brain is the goggles, I guess.
Okay.
So I don't know, like if some like random World War II guy dies, I don't understand the mechanism of why someone would be able to see him just chilling out in the house he used to live in. But it does seem to happen enough to make me scratch my head. But I just don't know how that fits in, you know?
Yeah, I've always struggled with that. Kind of, I guess, more or less, kind of the classic stories or classic views of ghostly alien type things. I've always kind of had a problem for a very similar reason, because it doesn't fit with the rest of the way I view the rest of it. It's a hard thing to reconcile. That's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough. The
it almost
augmented
seems
reality
like a
is
waking dream.
yeah. I mean, it's probably the best way to describe it. The augmented reality thing is very interesting, though. Because and that could go a bunch of different ways too. But do you think that is something that is inherently ingrained into us as spiritual beings, or do you think that? And I guess they could both be true. But is that a spiritual gift? Does everybody have it? Do people have it to different degrees? Do they have different abilities within the initial ability?
I certainly think everyone has it, but again, there are different types of radios in the world too. And
Yeah.
I think every brain is like a radio. So yeah, there might be degrees of people who can maybe see through the membrane a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think it's natural. I think because there seems to be where it's tied to locations. And I just don't know why or why that would be. I understand the sort of different theories on it where, you know, the mainstream stuff where it's like, you know, someone died here, so of course you're going to see him. But it's like spirits don't need clothing. You know what I mean?
No.
So to me, it feels like a little bit of some weird stuff going on. I don't fully buy it. I don't think that they're lying. Well, some probably are, obviously, but I think there are people who genuinely see stuff. But I don't think the context behind it is true. I think it's like a deception. Their brains being hacked for whatever reason to believe that people just hang out in their house after they die. But who knows, man? I really don't know about that. And I don't know how that pertains to aliens. Like, it all has to connect somehow and make sense. And, you know, but
no, for sure. I agree. I think it absolutely has to connect. It would be really odd if it didn't. What do you think? Do you have any ideas of what the motivations of the hacking is? So the ties to physical locations, things like that, people see when we see them as valid or potentially valid. What could the purpose be? What's the mission? Why?
Well, if it is part of a deception, like a, you know, misdirection, some kind of magic trick to get us to think, well, I've spoken with Mikhail a little bit about my filament theory, and this kind of ties into it, at least the mechanism of how it would work. But as far as why they're doing it, it would have to be to get us to believe certain things that come with certain things come attached to these beliefs. They have implications about God, about the nature of reality. So if you're seeing a ghost just hanging out in a house, that would have implications. If you're seeing a UFO fly around and hover over a house, that would have implications. And we know there's going to be some kind of great deception. I think it's going to involve UFOs and aliens, but exactly what, I don't know. But it would have to be something big that the entire world can put aside their differences for a minute and kind of unify around some kind of weird, novel concept.
Yep.
So I guess, you know, like,
no, I agree.
That's as far as I got it.
I agree. Yeah, I'm pretty much right there, man. It's got to be something big. It's got to be something big. But even then, like, I can think of, I guess, brief goals, short goals, smart goals, if you will, but I still have a hard time seeing the true big picture, like what the end all be all is. And I think it's very far away. I think we'll experience little things here and there. Like, I mean, we're the generation now that's it. And again, I'm not an alien professional, so Kat or somebody else who knows more than me can tell me to shut the hell up and then I'm wrong. But I think we're the generation, and specifically the year, that mainstream media, the government, are just laying it all out. Like, obviously there's been things in the past, it's been talked about in the past, but as of this year, the media's just talking about it like it's normal. No big reveal, no, explaining to people like what's going on or what the government thinks or what we're gonna do. Just, hey, fucking aliens exist, have a great day.
I think they're priming us for something.
Well, it's this
and I think they have
desensitization, right?
Yeah.
Slowly seep it in. It still just seems odd. It seems odd.
47 was what, 80, almost 80 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's been basically a full generation. Everyone has heard of aliens. Everyone knows, they've seen movies and books. And so I think we're set. We're all primed up. And now the government magically is going to start rolling it out. So
yeah. Now it's the meshing.
I think, yeah, they're going to incorporate it into daily life coming up sometime soon, I would imagine. So
do you think it has weird. Oh, it's going to get real weird. Do you think it has any tie to, and I think actually you had mentioned it, unless I misheard you, to the I don't want to sound like Alex Jones, but it's exactly what I'm talking about. Animal hybrids, human animal hybrids. Did you mention that in the beginning? I thought that you did. Maybe you did.
I didn't.
Okay.
Did I? Maybe I can't.
I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong. But do you think there's any connection, or is that something you even believe in or have thought about?
No, I think they do experiment with wonky stuff like that to try to, find traits and whatnot. Maybe more so in China than, I guess, here, but or somewhere else. I don't know if it has anything to do with the hybridization program that people talk about.
Yeah.
I think that's more.
Man, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if those two things connect. And as far as like cattle mutilation and weird stuff like that, I don't know. I know cattle blood is somewhat close to human blood. So maybe that has a connection. But I think the aliens are a little more interested in us, not animals, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've always had kind of a weird opinion that if regardless of if aliens are different than angels and demons or whatever is happening that people are experiencing, it seems like they're obsessed with our psychology or maybe just our physical mind itself. But it seems, I don't know, a lot of it seems kind of focused on why we are
because
how we
our
are.
physical mind mind is part of our development.
Yeah. But if
they are our cultivators, then it makes sense.
But then too, so didn't you say within your theory or understanding, they had someone also that cultivated them?
Yes.
So do you think
they're
all kind of different? Are they different species? Are they different types of spiritual beings? Because if they are the future us, I mean, I don't really need to know a lot about the next Joe. I mean, I lived it. I experienced it. I was trained up in it. Why would I need to dig deep or probe, not literally, but probe into understanding the mind of something that I also share? Doesn't that mean inherently there needs to be kind of some kind of distinction or difference between the beings?
I think it's the same difference that you would find in a 5-year-old and a 50-year-old.
Okay.
You're still human. It's a developmental thing. It's a technology thing. It's a knowledge thing. But I think on a like fundamental level, what makes them immortal is something that they have. It's like some kind of upgrade. It's like contingent immortality, where if they decide to go with the plan, follow Yahweh, etc., then they get whatever the water of life is. I don't know what that is, but it would seem to be the thing that keeps them. But yeah, the 5-year-old to 50-year-old analogy seems to work. Like, they're like us. We will be planting we'll get a new planet, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. But it would seem to be that it's a perpetual thing. if you read the last last few verses of Revelation, you could just, turn back to Genesis and it would be a loop.
Yeah.
It seems to be,
Yeah.
so I mean, that's kind of what I think about it.
Interesting. Yeah, some of this, I think I told everybody, I've never really dug into any of this before. I just never cared, man. And I think it's if I'm being honest, is partly due to the fact that I've been very close-minded to it. And I've been very kind of alternatively focused. And then when this was brought up several weeks ago, Kat, she's into it. So like she's brought it up and we've talked about it periodically and stuff, but I've just never cared. I've never saw how it relates to anything that I do care about. And so I never looked into it. But after it was brought up several weeks ago, I began looking into it a little bit. And then I looked in a lot more this past week. And I'm tending to begin to agree with you in that I think there's a direct tie. I think there may not be any differentiating factors really outside of maybe some nuance type things, but I see it as just spirituality. And it seems like they have some innate need to kind of, and groom is a bad word now, but kind of groom us, kind of lead us in, teach us in some degree, or possibly take from us. I do have a hard time with reconciling the Bible itself, the scriptures, which is something I luckily do know a lot about, with more of the human experience throughout history. And some of what you said, I think makes sense. And I think it's something that I just need to think about more and probably look into more. But the Bible is tricky with stuff like this because so much of the Bible, in my opinion, and many people disagree, is not literal. It doesn't come across as literal. It even seems to kind of be confusing for a teasing reason or confusing on purpose to try to make people think, or so only certain people understand what's being said. And again, that's not a normal Christian belief, but that's where I land with it. So I have a hard time kind of reconciling the two a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But the way that you explained it,
I think the Bible is a cipher. And I also, what you just touched on, some people think The Matrix is just a cool action movie.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's kind of like that, where you got different levels of people that can all read or watch the same thing and get something completely different out of it based on the consciousness they had at the time of viewing or reading.
Yeah.
So the Bible is very fractal in that way. And what's the name of your dog? I can't remember.
We got Letty, Blue, and Kip.
Okay. And they're all different breeds, right?
Yeah.
All right, they all came from a wolf, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I think in terms like that, where, as far, well, I don't want to get into all that because there's not a lot of time, but maybe another week I can come back on and we can talk about other stuff.
We're gonna do this again. We're definitely gonna extend this one, and maybe you and I can kind of get together on it to put together kind of a strict run through, because I think a lot of the way that you think is really interesting to me, because a lot of it I identify with it. Thanks, and a lot of it goes beyond things that I think, like, you think way more in depth about some of those things than I do. And that's something I've kind of come to realize over the past couple of weeks, is that I've been in kind of this narrow box of just theology and philosophy, and I haven't really edged outside of that. And now doing the pre-research and then again listening to you, I'm a hell of a lot more interested. So I think it would be really cool if maybe you could, I'll talk to you outside of this, but maybe put together like a list of questions or concepts or ideas, and I get those ahead of time, and I'll do the same, and you'll get them ahead of time, and maybe kind of lead a conversation with that and see if we can get a few more people on too to talk. But man, it's thought-provoking stuff, man. And the way you explain it it's very easy to understand, in my opinion. It's very complicated, but it's easy it's easy to grasp.
It's hard to explain because I ramble and I'm like, No,
not at all. Not at all. No, it's very well said.
I kind of see theology and, just the world in general as an equation. And if we don't account for every little piece of weird phenomena, it's like a puzzle that's missing a piece. And I think we have to at least try to, even if it's impossible, you know.
That's where I'm at, man. I think it is impossible, but I think you can.
It probably is.
I think you can get a lot though, man. I think you can get a lot.
Yeah.
Like when I truly learned about like the Fibonacci sequence, God's fingerprint, it changed my entire life. It changed the way I looked at everything. It changed the way I looked at food, at animals, at even like math in school. It changed the way I looked at anything. And then once you learn just that as an example, again, when you get into, you know, the market, stock market, crypto market, whatever, everything is a mathematical equation, but it's based on human behavior. And it's just wild shit. And it's the same thing with stuff like this. If you actually get into it and you really get the hell off your phone and actually try to think for a couple hours, it's wild. And you can get all these pieces together and you can spend your entire life, but you'll never have the full picture. But it blows me away that so many people are okay with having two pieces for their whole life. Whereas someone like you'd rather die than just have two pieces. Like you wouldn't be able to function.
Over it.
And I totally understand. Because I don't know how people survive that way. Like I feel like I would just melt. It's just never enough. It's never enough. But the more you go, the more you figure out. And then at least you got, you know, a half-ass picture of what's going on. And then as you get more pieces, things start to click a little bit more. But it's very cool, man. It's very cool to hear you kind of go in on those things. And I think it'd be real cool if we could do it again. Put some more together.
Yeah, I would be down, man.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do that.
Throw me some questions because I like to think about things that I haven't, you know, thought about. So.
I will. I'll do that, and then same with you, and then we'll maybe you and I'll jump on a Discord call before whatever the actual stream, and kind of put things together. Yeah. I think it'd be real cool, man. It'd be real cool. You're a smart dude. It's very nice to hear you explain that stuff. All right, what do you have anything else for now? Feel free.
I don't think let me see. Yeah, I did. I had one last. Wait.
No, go ahead.
I think I had one last note that I didn't finish. So basically, what I was, you know, someone said earlier, like, you know, did Jesus die for the aliens? That's making a lot of assumptions just in that question.
Yeah.
I don't think he had to, because I think they are the ones who he employs to foster us. So, you know. Jesus didn't have to die for Michael, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did I say here? Yeah. Okay. The fall of man, I think, is a necessity. It's the starting point to our growth cycle. So at the beginning, there's some kind of personality that is devoid of any kind of the knowledge of good and evil, let's say. And then the fall, quote unquote, is the thing that starts it all. So it's like, God knew it was going to happen. He didn't trick them. It's just like a way of teaching, so to speak. It's, you know, your kid's going to do a bad thing when you have a kid. Like, it's going to be inevitable. So that's, I just wanted to touch on that briefly with, I can't remember who asked it. Maybe it was Danny.
I think it was Danny. Yeah. I think it was Danny.
Okay. So yeah, I just want to throw that in there, but yeah, that's pretty much all the notes I took. So
that right there opens up so many more questions too. I was just sitting there reeling the whole time, because even just theologically, free will, things like that. That's yeah, man, that's tough.
Yeah,
I think that one in your notes.
Act of placing the seed in the dirt and then burying it. Yeah. I think that's what the whole thing is. So it's the start.
I want to go in real hard, but I'm not going to. We'll save it.
Yeah,
we'll save it.
We'll have to save that one.
Yeah, we got to, because that's good. That goes a lot of different ways.
Cliffhanger.
All right, man. Yeah, well, if you don't have anything else, just mute yourself whenever you're ready, and then put that stuff together, and I'll put some stuff together, and then you and we'll meet. I think this will be a wild conversation when it's more structured.
Cool. All right.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, man. Yep.
All right, y'all, we're gonna wrap up. So if anybody is needing to go somewhere, go ahead and bail. I'm just gonna try to go through the chat real quick and just make sure I didn't miss anything important. But that was enlightening. That was enlightening. And I gotta be honest with all of you. I feel kind of stupid for never never spending more time on things like this. I think this is something and it pains me to say it, that I was kind of indoctrinated into. The Hollywood concept of aliens, the idea of these extraterrestrial beings. I, from a very young age, just got used to it, and I just never really thought about it again. I never really cared. And that's a great example of like how one person, one conversation with somebody can just completely shift the way you think about something, can completely shift the way that you approach a topic. And like that is what this is supposed to be. This whole thing that we're doing, that's what this is supposed to be. And someone like Ghost brings a very cool angle to it, because I'm very much like theology, right? I'm very much like biblical history. That's my specialty. That's what I've always done. That's what I understand the most. Whereas he's got more of like a free thinker going on, where he's gone outside of the theology and has tried to tie theology to other concepts and ideas that a lot of Christians don't. And I think that's exactly what we need, right? That's exactly what the hell you want in a group like us, because we're not here to just listen to somebody read from the Bible. We do that on Sundays, but even then, that's not all we do. And we're also not here to just have this repetitive crap kind of said over and over again and have us recite things back. That's not it. The whole purpose is to go into what the repetitive people say and tear it the hell apart, rip it into a million pieces, and try to figure out why, how, if this, then what. That was awesome. Very, very good. Ghost, I agree with Mikkel. I think you should try to come on more regularly. I think you've got a lot to offer, man. 100%. The church has no answer for aliens, and that is really sad. When the fallen angels or demons appear and pretend to be aliens, many will never listen to church people again. It could be true. It could be true. It's a bit simplistic, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's bad. Every conversation brings something you really needed to know, something of real value. Yeah, 100%. 100%. The quality of the stream is going out again, so if we get disconnected, just know I love y'all, and I'm not going to turn it back on because we're basically at time. I would have been stuttering for sure. Jalen, you would be fine. You would be fine. Okay, I get that. I tried to be painstakingly unbiased and open-minded, and so I never really thought about that. I think that due to his experience with ayahuasca, paired with how, I must have missed something about Joe Rogan or something. Pastora Lucena. Who's that? Who are you? I don't recognize you. Different things, experiences, etc. is wildly interesting. I think that it'd be impossible to fully grasp what he says in regards to those topics because we haven't seen these things like him. Are you talking about Ghost? Like you haven't seen it in your head the way he sees it? Or are you talking about the guy who did ayahuasca? You're probably talking about ayahuasca. My presence triggers the YouTube servers, bro. You overstimulated the YouTube servers. They're short-circuiting. Minds have been blown. All right, let me see. What is that? I some days kind of don't feel or don't recognize myself from yesterday, a month ago, a year ago. Why is that? That's a good question. Everybody ponder this for a second. The wise Mikkel, the philosopher, says this. He says, why is it that I, some days, kind of don't feel or don't recognize myself from yesterday, a month ago, a year ago? I don't know for sure, but it's got parallel universe vibes to the question. That's a good ponderance right there. I've been there. I definitely feel that some days. Like I feel like not me. I feel like I'm not present, or like I'm present, but I'm not in the time that I'm supposed to be in, if that makes sense, which sounds dumb, but hopefully it makes sense. Some of our airports are alien hubs like DIA in Colorado. I grew up in Colorado. I flew through DIA all the time. And It's got some weird stuff in it, man. It's got some weird stuff. But the one thing you got to give Denver credit for is that they embraced it. I mean, they have signs with alien like fingers pointing to stuff. Denver has totally embraced the whole aliens and like secret underground occult type vibe and theories that are under the airport and under the city of Denver. They've totally embraced it, which is funny and respectable. You make the YouTube squirm with all your misinformation. Oh, that's true. That's true. It's all your misinformation. I'm probably gonna get a strike because of it. Good old YouTube. Oh, Graham Hancock. Gotcha. Jalen, I'm gonna try to get that video for you. So Jalen says there was an alien attack in Peru, and the stream is not available. Well, the first video of it has been taken down, but apparently there was an alien attack in Peru where I think she said people were like shooting at it or something. And this looks like all BS. Okay. We might be out of luck, man. Might be out of luck. If anybody finds it, a YouTube video showing an alien attack in Peru, send me the link and I will add it to my notes for when Ghost and I come on and do this again. And we'll do a deep dive into, honestly, from my view, into Ghost's thoughts about some of that stuff. I'd like to kind of make some bullet points, some line items, and then expand on them more thoroughly and have you guys, able to ask questions and stuff. And I'm going to ask questions. Pastora is my friend. Oh, very nice. Hi, friend. Pastora. Be a member of our cult, Mikkel. You guys have to hide the cult part for at least a couple streams for new people. You're going to scare them all the way. You're going to scare them all away. Yes, Mikkel, depersonalization. I have that too. There are vids on it. I'll send it. Yeah, Jalen, send me the video. Send me if you find it. Send it to me, or tag me. Post it to Discord and tag me, and then I'll save the link. All right. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen, before we call it an evening? We've been on 90 minutes. We will start wrapping it up. Ghostgate will be the newest moderator for the Discord, which is just beautifully fitting after he comes on here and blows everybody away. Let me see. I think I had one or two more just quick questions, but I might save them. Give me 1 second. Oh, here's a good question, but I'm just going to drop it on you and leave it with you. And then we're going to call it an evening. Do we have reason to believe that God wouldn't have potentially used creatures such as aliens for a variety of purposes here on Earth, such as building the pyramids? Now connect that to what Ghost was talking about, the dynamic of the interactions between us as spiritual beings and them as spiritual beings. And in a way, that's kind of his answer to that question. I'm sure he's got more thoughts on it. So I'll save this question for when we do this again. But that's something else to consider, especially after listening to ghost theories about some of this stuff, is do you have any reason to believe that God would not have potentially used creatures such as aliens for a variety of purposes here on Earth? Whether that be because we are incapable as humans of doing the thing, or whether that be because it's a part of their duty as our zookeeper to grow us or build us or potentially damage us in whatever way. We're aliens used by God. What's the way Ghost say? He said they work for Jesus, they work for God, whereas we're in a very different category. We are the result of a fall, of children making the mistake, as he said. But angels and demons are in a totally different sphere of how this all works. They're not under that law. They're not under original sin. They're completely outside of it. I believe Ghost used the term employees. They're his employees, rather than, on par with us. Reminds me of the movie Signs with Mel Gibson. The black alien scene captured on TV. Yeah, it kind of does, huh? Make sure to keep a baseball bat on the wall and plenty of water around the house. What if aliens are like ghosts? Like in between spirit and regular realms, like being half awake, half asleep, but not all the way dead. What if aliens are like ghosts, in between spirit and regular realms, like half awake and half asleep, but not all the way dead? Huh. I was wondering about the seven wonders, which is beyond their time. Ghosts would be a good topic. I will add that to our topic list. Ghosts. I feel like we've kind of touched on it here and there with other things, like demonology. I think we talked about it very briefly. Got to be tied to the Illuminati. God. Oh, God. All right, last chance here, guys. Anything you got out, go ahead, throw it out. I will get a poll up for next week. I will include... Well, I'll talk to Ghost first, but if he thinks he can be ready and I think I can be ready, then we'll put the part 2 of the aliens thing, or maybe we should call it something else, because we won't really be talking about kind of the mainstream understanding of aliens. I don't know. Ghost and I'll talk about it, but whatever that conversation is, we will put that on the poll. And then, I'll put some of the other normal ones on the poll and see where y'all land. I was honestly pretty surprised you guys picked aliens to talk about, if I'm being honest. Okay, but we will add ghosts. I'll add them to the list. Illuminati's on the list. Maze. Damn, well, I would rather have been an angel or a demon. I mean, fair enough. Fair enough. I don't necessarily disagree. I'd rather be an alien mystic. I want a ray gun. Like the ray gun in Call of Duty. What was that Call of Duty we played? Which one was that, Cat? Years ago. Several years ago. Was that the zombies one? Or was that a different one? Or was that a new one? Sometimes I get annoyed that all of this stuff is hidden from us. It's like a big test of loyalty. Is it a test of loyalty? Or is it that we can't handle it? Is it that we can't understand it? Is it that we're not capable of it? Or is it a test of loyalty? I don't know. I don't know. You were going to talk about some Discord matters. Yeah, well, the Discord matters was going to be this whole fun thing where I basically manipulated you all into picking who the next moderator would be. But Ghost decided to volunteer, so we get to avoid the whole mass manipulation thing. I was going to play a game where secretly you guys picked who the next moderator was going to be. So we'll do it next time. We'll do it next time. I think tests is kind of the point. Jalen, you mean like the test of loyalty is the point? Is that our purpose? Is our purpose just for God to seek pleasure through our loyalty rather than rejection of him? I first imagined the silly ray guns in The Sims. Oh yeah, you're a big Sims player, huh? Discord tells on you. All right, 1 minute. I'm getting off. I got to put a kiddo to bed. I got to try to eat something before I go to bed. 1 more minute. Any last minute stuff? I'll get the poll out over the next couple of days. We've got 2 new moderators in Discord to help kind of keep things together. We'll be making some other shifts and changes over the next week or two, trying to make things just all around better, easier to use, best to function. Sorry, I've missed the last 10 minutes. You didn't miss anything at all. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Don't even worry about it. My friend, 20 seconds, guys, 20 seconds. I'm going to shut down. Everybody have a lovely evening. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Love each other. Oh, no. That's not what I meant. Sorry. No, you're good. You're good. I just wasn't sure. There are people who think that, so I have to ask, and no hate towards those people. Like nobody knows. We are all just guessing. We are all just speculating. Half the world thinks everything Ghost just said is insane. They think he's delusional. The other half, like me, and I'm sure many of you, think it's pretty wise. It's pretty intelligent. This just shows the the pure, vast spectrum of understanding. It's totally crazy. Have you ever discussed Gnosticism? Many times. Have we discussed it on a Thursday? No. Have we discussed it on a live stream? No. So that will be something that I add to the list too. That's a great topic. Gnosticism. It's good stuff. It's very interesting. I miss Scott tonight. This weekend, I'm going to try to make the hat, Mikkel. The hat and a few t-shirts in Scott's honor. Good old Scott. Plot twist. The aliens may look just like us. So if you don't take the mark, you might be a bad alien. Interesting enough, man. Interesting enough. All right, guys, I'm out. Everybody have a great night. I love you all. You're all beautiful. This was a great conversation. Everybody thank Ghost very much for coming on and sharing his wisdom, because that's exactly what that was. I'd be down to discuss Gnosticism. Oh, beautiful. All right, well, then maybe we'll get Ghost on for that one too. No, thank you, man. That was very good. It was very good. It's always nice to have those talks. All right, I'll add the Gnosticism topics, and I will add, what was the one Jalen had? I don't know, but I wrote it down, so we're good. All right, good. Love you guys. I'm out. I will see you all in Discord. Be kind to each other. Love each other. Pray for each other. And remember, this is not a cult. And because we're not a cult, we are not going to vote to sacrifice somebody next Thursday. Not going to. So rest easy.